We are here today with Mariagrazia La Piscopia, who is the Executive Director of the SESAR Deployment Manager. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be here.
We are really looking forward to discussing with you more about the SESAR Deployment Manager. For any of our viewers who might not know, the SESAR Deployment Manager is one of the most ambitious modernisation projects of the European Union. And it's the natural sequence of the SESAR joint undertaking. And I think perhaps a simple way to explain it is that you take the innovations and the projects developed under the SESAR joint undertaking, and you really turn them into a reality for Europe's airports. We're delighted to have you with us and to delve more into SESAR Deployment Manager and your thoughts on the future of European aviation. So let's start by looking back. What would you say are the biggest achievements of the SESAR Deployment Manager over the past years?
What we are doing is really to put into operation, to deploy the projects that are coming from the R&D development phase. So those are solutions that are mature to be implemented and need synchronization at EU level are then within the scope of the SESAR Deployment Manager. There is a regulatory scope that is called the Common Project 1, and the biggest achievement that I can share is the put into reality things, because when you talk about solution, of course, you think about things that can be done, but the real added value is to realize them all over Europe. And 50% of the regulation has already been implemented by air navigation service provided by airports, by airlines, but all the let's say the ecosystem, ATM ecosystem that really need to modernize ATM. And the airports, they play a huge role here, because now we are coordinating 356 projects that received funding also for deployment. Of these, 310 have already been completed, but 75 are the ones led by airports, and many others are the ones where airports are really contributing. But what I am proud about are in particular some big multi-stakeholder projects, and I need to thank ACI, because ACI was really pioneer in this, in the way to manage these projects. And I have two big projects that are called ExoPan with around 20 airports inside, and the one on the same subject the year before, it calls Beacon, with other 7-8 airports. And these projects are implementing AOP NOP. That is really the way to improve the performance at airport level. It's how to share information and data real time.
How has the collaboration with stakeholders like ACI Europe, but also airlines, airports, ANSPs and the industry, how has that evolved through the SDM partnership model?
We created a completely new model where you have industry working for industry. So at the beginning it was really not that easy, because I have airports working together with the NSPs, with airlines, with engineers, air traffic controllers. So it was not that easy, because different know-how, different nationalities. But at the end, the model was the right one, because it was the way to work together. There was a mysterious implementation coming from a regulation that had to be implemented, but working together we were able to develop a deployment program where we are really explaining what has to be done by whom, and to which everybody is committed. And that's why it's a special setup, and coordination, collaboration, working together, we call it also co-creation sometimes, because it's really working together, is rewarding at the end.
I think it summarizes well that it's not just about working together, but it's about developing the system.
Developing, and then some special we have the liaison officer, for example, because in the team you have, as I told you, NSP airports, airlines, network manager that joined us in 2022, so different expertise. And then we have the liaison officers that are the one facilitating to reach out all, in the case of ACI, all the relevant airports, and are the ones that are facilitating also the work to SDM, but also outside SDM, the implementing partners.
Can you explain what role the European Commission has played in enabling SESAR deployment, and how crucial that public support has been for reaching your objectives?
Yeah, so well, the European Commission, of course, has a massive role in SDM because they were the first one to set up the model and trusted the industry to deliver in this model, but also providing the necessary support at funding level. So they have a vital role because, you know, at the end, SDM is supporting the European Commission because we are covering an institutional function to facilitate the deployment of one of their technical pillars, that is SESAR, and we are facilitating the support, we are supporting the stakeholders and facilitating the deployment. Of course, more we deploy, more timely we deploy, and better it is for Europe at the end. The benefit is for Europe. So the task was to convince the stakeholders to invest now for something which benefit will be there 100% maybe in 2027, 2030, and for which they don't see the immediate local benefit. So the funding was really instrumental in supporting the decision making, in accelerating the investment for technological modernization.
We've heard of Europe's ambition to lead in digital and sustainable aviation. From your perspective, how does SESAR deployment help achieve that vision?
The priority for us is, of course, to modernize ATM. Is the priority for SESAR. No? SESAR is the technological pillar of the European Commission in the framework of the Single European Sky, and so what we have to do is to modernize the system. They need to become more digital. We need to support automation. We need to reduce the environmental impact, and all what we are coordinating is going into that direction. Of course, the Common Project 1 is the first step, because in Europe we are lucky to have a plan for the future, that is the European ATM Master Plan that was approved by the European Commission last December. But there you have the vision. Then you need the coordinator, that is our role, that is putting in place the necessary building blocks to implement the final vision.
What would you say to policymakers or budget holders who may be on the fence about investing further in ATM modernisation? And can you help our audience understand what would be at stake if SESAR doesn't receive, the necessary funding or policy backing in the future?
Europe will soon be at stake in terms of traffic management, because there is a plan, it is estimated a strong increase of the traffic in the next 10 years. So we need to do something, and so there are actions that needs to be under. There is no silver bullet, but modernization of the ATM systems is one of the solutions that we have. The policy makers are asking this to the aviation sector. So they are asking to become smarter, more digital, to ensure enough capacity to manage all the traffic that is coming in the next years, but also to be more, to consume less fuel, less CO2 emission in the air. So are all required to be more competitive. These are all requests that are coming in terms of EU priorities. We need also to dedicate some budget to support aviation in investing in the future. We are, I think, Europe is leading in the world, considering, I mean, also the effort that the stakeholders are doing, because let's not forget that we are coming out at full speed from a COVID situation, and the increase of traffic is much more than what was expected. The particular and special geopolitical situation that put a lot of constraint and increase of traffic on some Western countries. The problems that we are having with the staffing, airports and SPs, so it's really a huge problem. And this, together with all the pressure to be always better, let's say, needs a counterpart and a support. And so that's why funding, I think, is essential to keep pushing, for Europe to remain in this leadership position in ATM.
I want to pick up on what you said about Europe being the leaders here. And I'd like to ask, in your view, what sets European ATM modernisation and the journey we're undertaking, apart from efforts elsewhere in the world?
We need to consider that, differently from other regions, Europe is much more complex. So all the member states, all the stakeholders involved, the fragmented situation, even if we try to solve with technology and interoperability. So the starting point is already more complex than the rest of the world. But notwithstanding this, thanks to the Single European Sky framework that has been put in place by the European Commission, with all the bodies that are part of it, from technological side, SESAR, both research and deployment, then EASA, network manager, are all bodies that really work together to speed up and modernize the ATM. And then we have also the ATM Master Plan. The ATM Master Plan is leading the European vision for the evolution of ATM beyond 2050. So this is the difference with the other countries.
How important is aligning technology with operational reality? And are there lessons learned about implementation versus innovation?
It's always important that deployment is then aligned with the operations at the end, and that the operational needs are taken into consideration within the priorities for deployment. I think this is something we cannot escape, because you can deploy at technological level, but then the operations needs to be well organized. Technology cannot solve everything, so it's a combination of the two things always.
What gives you the most optimism when you look at the future of SESAR and European air traffic management?
I think that up to now a lot has been done. Is not finished yet. That's why the SDM role is pushing with the operational stakeholders to accelerate the implementation. You know, there are some important implementation in the pipeline for the next years that are related to SWIM implementation. That is the way we exchange data, so we become more digital, and the initial trajectory information sharing, that is really how we improve the air-ground connection to manage the trajectory. These two things can improve the capacity, have big impact on the reduction of CO2 emissions. So I'm optimistic in the sense that I see what has been done up to now. I'm pushing to realize quickly what we have in front of us, but I see what is important is that I see the commitment of the operational stakeholders. Indeed, sometimes there are delays due to a number of reasons, because the system, the ecosystem is really complex, but what we are doing in SDM is to support them in all the steps. And sometimes, even if the implementation is coming a bit after, what we ensure is that is done all over Europe in the same way, because this is what at the end will ensure interoperability, and that makes the difference, no, in the implementation. And of course, my trust is with people, because I see my team, but also beyond my team and the teams of the airports and the other stakeholders. I see how much they are working to make it happen, and so I really trust them. I really trust their know-how and commitment.
What has personally motivated you throughout this journey?
When I saw the new model, of course, the first reaction is, oh, it's complex, no? But at the end, it was what motivated me. It was something completely new. We were pioneer in this activity. It was the way to involve industry since its inception, so not to wait and deliver something to them as final result of a study, but really to involve them in a step by step and gain their trust and gain their respect. And so at the end, this leads to buy-in to deploy. Because if we do not involve them in the right way, and they are the ones that need to put the money on the table, things will never happen. And that's why this was the stimulus for me to engage in this work, and at the end, it was the right choice.
We will wrap up with one final question, and I would like to ask, what advice would you give to the next generation of aviation or ATM leaders who want to help shape the future of Europe's skies?
First thing is not to be afraid of challenges and to change things, because things evolve in time, and so we need to be able to follow the evolution of and the priorities that are there in that moment, and not be afraid of changing the way we work. What is important is always to protect a model of partnership, because it's the winning one. We will never achieve anything with the top-down elements. Because you need the involvement from the people, you need a collaborative approach, and this partnership model that we created at the end is, I think, the one working. So to the leaders, you need to go on with this collaborative approach. Top-down does not work. Also the common project one, at the end, it's a regulation. No? So there is the top-down dimension, but there is also the facilitator. There is the one that together with the ones that need to invest and implement is driving the change together.
Well, Mariagrazia, it's been such a pleasure to have you here and to hear all of your insights. And I think everyone looks forward to seeing where the future of the SESAR Deployment Manager will go. So thank you so much.
Thanks to you. It was a pleasure.